It was a typical Saturday in suburbia, except I was stuck hosting a garage sale. I hate garage sales and would have rather thrown everything away, but my wife insisted. Even though we didn't need the money, she suggested donating the proceeds to our kids' school, where she's an active PDA member. She's as dedicated to the PDA as I am to my car. I was relaxing in my backyard hammock, gearing up for my Sunday marathon training. Sundays are big for me. I run between 18 and 24 miles, leaving me exhausted for the rest of the day. In the evening, once it cools down, I wash my 2009 Mustang GT. The garage is spotless, with floors clean enough to eat off and even a TV inside. Suddenly, a young couple approached. The guy asked if I had mispriced the Master X Station dual-screen video system at $50, thinking it should be $500. "No," I said sharply. "The price is $50. Take it or leave it." He looked skeptical and asked if it worked. "It's barely been used and in near-perfect condition," I replied. "If you don't want it, someone else will." He wondered why I was selling it so cheaply. I sighed, knowing this was one of the things I hated about garage sales. I invited them to sit and offered beers while I shared my story about how video games nearly ruined my life. My name is Perry Tyler. I have a degree in manufacturing technology from U of M and work as a lead CNC programmer at Thompson Manufacturing. I live in the suburbs of Michigan, just outside Detroit. When this all started, I'd been married to Denise Ankovsky for about 10 years. We weren't rich, but we had a comfortable life. Denise and I were opposites physically. She peaked early with a decent figure, long brown hair, and a body that attracted attention. I was a nerdy, thin guy with big glasses, socially awkward and shy. I was hopelessly in love with Denise. The first few years after college were tough for most of us. Denise worked as a waitress while I landed my current job, quickly moving up from CNC operator to programmer, earning more money with each promotion. I kept in touch with college friends and eventually got closer to Denise. We started dating and things got serious. Denise was the first woman to truly let me enjoy closeness, unlike the rushed encounters I'd had before. After a year of dating, I realized Denise was my best friend. I couldn't stand being apart from her. When I proposed, she was surprised, questioning why I wanted to marry her when we already had a great relationship. I told her how much I loved her and couldn't imagine life without her. She said yes, and we got married. 10 years into our marriage, I thought we were happy. We had 2 boys, Bobby, 5, and Johnny, 3, waited until we were financially stable to have kids, and owned a nice house with 2 cars and a pool. But over the years, we changed. Denise had gained weight and looked like a typical suburban housewife, but I still loved her deeply. Despite her physical changes, Denise was still the woman I loved and the mother of my children. Our bond was strong, and a little extra weight couldn't change that. I often showed my affection in playful, sometimes outrageous ways. Meanwhile, I gained confidence in weight thanks to my job and working out, and switched to contacts. We had our ups and downs, but our love and commitment remained strong. The issue began when our babysitter, Mary Claire Thorpe, made a comment at a barbecue we hosted to celebrate her associate's degree in childhood development. Mary Claire, a striking yet shy girl, had a slim but curvy figure. Despite her attractive features, I had never felt any lust toward her. At the barbecue, which included our kids, Mary Claire, her brother Stuart, and some neighbors, Denise gave Mary Claire a laptop. Jokingly, Denise said it was probably car-related because I picked it out. Mary Claire, tipsy from a few drinks, blurted out, "Mr. Tyler's not a nerd, he's hot, I'd do him in a heartbeat." Denise's eyes narrowed, and I realized she hadn't really noticed me in a while. We were just mid-30s parents with kids and a mortgage. Hearing I was hot made Denise see me differently, especially since she used to be the attractive one, and I wasn't. Denise and I mostly focused on family activities, which had dimmed the spark in our relationship. To rekindle it, I decided we needed new hobbies together. Reading about online carnivores and gaming rooms, I thought playing video games with our kids would be good. Since I'd never been a gamer, I needed a head start. I bought the best gaming system and popular games. I set up a professional dual monitor system so Denise and I could play together and against each other. When I brought it home, Denise looked at me like I was crazy. "This will recharge things around here," I said. "How?" she asked. "We'll play together to improve our teamwork and compete for prizes." "What kind of prizes?" she asked skeptically. "The winner can do anything they want to the loser," I suggested. "Don't get your hopes up, Perry," she smirked. "I'm not letting you screw my bum just because of a game. Why can't you be happy with what you get?" "Because I want all of you," I said. She smiled, looking happier than she had in a while. But that lasted until we started playing. I adapted quickly to the games because of my job, but Denise struggled. Modern video games require dexterity, fast reflexes, problem-solving, and an instinct. Denise had none of these. Our first gaming night was a disaster. Playing beyond the call of duty, Denise was repeatedly eliminated before she could figure out where we were. Frustrated, she eventually threw the controller down and walked away. The next evening, Denise and I decided to play against each other offline. "So, what's the prize?" I asked. "Not what you're hoping for," she smirked. "I'm not taking that risk until I'm skilled enough to prevent your victory." Disappointed, I eliminated her 15 times in 14 minutes. I didn't get any lovemaking, not even a head, and Denise barely spoke to me for 2 days. I was ready to pack up the gaming system when I got an excited call from Denise at work. "Saturday night," she said. "What about it?" I asked. "We'll play for whatever you want," she said. "If you win, you get to have lovemaking with me. If I win, you have to pleasure me exactly how I want." "What brought this on?" I asked. "Mary Claire's brother, Stuart, is giving me gaming lessons," she explained. "He saw our game system and offered to teach me for $10 a session. So Saturday night, it's on." From that Monday, we exchanged glances and smiles all week. Even our lovemaking was more intense. Denise teased me, knowing I was imagining winning the game. Saturday night arrived. After dinner and the kids were in bed, Denise and I showered and met at the gaming system, both in robes. We played Beyond the Call of Duty. The first to 5 eliminates would win. I quickly got the first eliminate, but then Denise eliminated me 5 times in a row with impressive skill. She smirked and led me to the bedroom. I fulfilled her desires as promised. After 3 peeks, she pushed me away, unable to take more. "Do you want to?" she asked. "I'll do you now. Do you want to screw me, or should I just give head to you?" I was so pissed, I turned down the giving a head and barely wanted to look at her. The next day, Sunday, I ran 20 miles and washed my car. Denise asked if I wanted to play again, but I declined. I watched her play, and she was amazing, using cheat codes and combos I didn't know. By the time she finished, I never wanted to see that game again. Later, I tried playing Unmapped, an adventure game with complex puzzles. Denise joined, but was terrible at it. I sensed a rematch and set it for a week later. This time, we'd play the online version of Unmapped, and the first to find the treasure would win. "What are we playing for this time?" she asked. "You already know what I want," I replied. "Well, this time, I want you to lick every inch of my body, suck my toes, and then do what you did last night," she said. I'm still tingling. I just went out to wash my car. During the week, I played Unmapped a lot and got deeply into it. I also spent time in chat rooms learning more about the game. Since each session was different, Denise couldn't really practice for it, making the contest fairer. Saturday arrived, and we showered and undressed after putting the kids to bed. We started the game. Denise excelled in the shooting battles, while I was better at solving the puzzles. She won, barely. As promised, I licked every inch of her body and sucked her toes, making her moan loudly. "Perry, I love it when you do that," she said. "And I love you. Buying this game was the smartest thing we've ever done." "I'm glad you're happy," I said, though I didn't really feel it. "So what about next weekend?" she asked. "What about it?" I replied. "We still have 1 game left and neither of us has played it yet," she said. I grabbed the game box and read it with her. "You're on," I said. "This one may be tough for you." She smiled. "If I win, you have to lick what you want most but won't get it." "What do you want if you win?" she asked. "Nothing," I said. That puzzled her. She moved closer and wrapped her arm around me. "But don't you want to?" she asked. "Not anymore," I said. "It's been over a week since we—" "Denise, you just had 3 peeks," I said. "That should be enough." The next day during my 20-mile run, I had plenty of time to think. Washing the car afterward also gave me time to plan for the following Saturday. I decided to do something a bit sneaky. While Denise made dinner, I checked out some items in the living room. The next day at work, I used an old nanny cam app on my computer. Years ago, we bought nanny cams to check on Mary Claire. Now I moved one to face the video game monitors to see how Stuart was training Denise. I was working on a new program when I heard Denise talking to Stuart. "Did you win again?" he asked, laughing as Denise nodded. Stuart, unlike his sister, is a large, balding guy in his early 30s with thick glasses and strong opinions on various topics. Watching their training sessions gave me insight. I knew it was cheating, but I needed to understand how Denise was becoming so skilled. It seemed Stuart was a big help in her improvement. "So, do I get paid now?" asked Stuart. Denise suggested that Stuart's friend might be more comfortable on the deck while she gave Stuart his money. I didn't realize I was the one paying him. Besides, there's no rush. We have all morning and most of the afternoon, she said. Stuart's friend muttered something as he walked outside. Once the door clicked shut, Denise pulled Stuart into the living room and dropped to her knees. I watched in shock as she started giving him a head. My heart rate tripled, and I quickly started recording the video feed, told my secretary I had an emergency, and drove home. I parked a block away to avoid detection and quietly entered through the back. Inside, I found Stuart having lovemaking with Denise on our dining room table, while his friend watched and giving pleasure to himself. Hurry up, said Denise. It's not like I enjoy this. You said you had all day, I said loudly. They turned in shock. Denise straightened up and Stuart almost fell over. Perry, what are you doing home? She asked. Oh, crap, said Stuart. My rage took over. I walked straight to Stuart, my fist flying into his face, breaking his glasses. I grabbed his shirt to keep him from falling and punched him again, breaking his nose. Denise, terrified, tried to stop me. Stuart's friend kept doing his job despite the chaos. Denise grabbed my arm, but my reflexes kicked in and I kneed Stuart in the groin, causing him to scream. I threw Denise off me and hurled a snow globe at Stuart's friend, striking his hand and breaking his wrist. Both men were screaming as I turned to face Denise, who was scrambling to find clothes and talk to me. Perry, we have to talk about this, she said. What's there to talk about? I snapped. You've saved your lover for now, but next time it'll be different. Get out of my house, all of you. I don't have a lover, she screamed. I was trying to save you from jail. Our kids need both parents and we can't work this out if you liquidated Stuart. Look at him, he's pathetic. Denise, get out. Take Stuart and his friend with you, I repeated. Stuart was curled up on the floor, holding his groin, his nose swollen and bleeding, with his pants around his ankles. His friend was crying and trying to unlock the door with one hand. I handed Denise her keys and opened the door. She tried to hug me, but I pushed her away. When we talk about this, you'll see it's not as bad as it seems, she said. I'll be back after I take them to the hospital. No, you won't. Go to your parents' house or anywhere else, but don't come back here. Have your dad get your things until the lawyers sort this out. Perry, don't talk like that. This was a mistake. We won't be one of those divorced families. We'll work it out. I don't want our boys growing up in a broken home. I love you. We just need to talk. I slammed the door in her face. I quickly called Mary Claire and asked her to pick up my boys from school and take them to my parents' house, telling her I might be going to jail soon, but not why. Then I rushed to the bank, transferred all the money from my savings account, and closed it. I kept the checking account intact to avoid suspicion. I saw my boss, a friend who had gone through multiple divorces. He helped me set up an offshore account and transfer the cash. I cashed out my brokerage account, losing about 15% in the process, and transferred it as well. My boss suggested I park my car in his garage. My secretary followed me to his house, and I rented a car. Returning home, I saw the police were already there. Mr. Tyler, 2 men are in the hospital with serious injuries, an officer said. They don't want to press charges, but we need your side of the story. I came home and found one of them screwing my wife, I said. I reacted like any guy would. Do you need proof? The officers looked uncomfortable. Come inside, I said. I showed them the video feed up to the point before I attacked Stuart. Sir, I understand what you're going through, said the first officer. Even though they don't want to press charges, we need you to come downtown to fill out a report. You probably won't be there long. I'm ready to go, officer, I said. I don't mind staying down there for a while. I've got everything in order. As I left, I broke my front door key off in the lock. My back door key was in my Mustang's console. Surprisingly, they didn't put me in jail. I was placed in an interview room and they didn't take my phone or wallet. While waiting, I called Mary Claire, who had taken my kids to my parents' house. I thanked her and then explained the situation to my dad. He decided to call and leave a message on my home phone saying he was taking the boys fishing with my permission. Soon after, Denise called me, but I hung up. She called again, and I hung up again. Then her mom called, and I couldn't hang up on her. She asked me to go to the hospital to talk to Denise. I told her I couldn't because I was in jail. Within minutes, I got a flurry of calls from Denise, none of which I answered. A half hour later, I told my story to the detective. While waiting to be released, Denise stormed into the station and tried to hug me. I backed away. Stay away from me, I said. Honey, we have to sort this out, she said. There's nothing to sort, I replied. After our divorce, you'll have plenty of time to screw Stuart and anyone else you want. Perry, you're the only one I want, she insisted. Too bad. I'm the one thing you can't have again. Perry, we need to talk. I made mistakes, but I love you, she pleaded. You let that sleazebag screw you from behind. Something you never let me do, I snapped. I've supported you, married you, and we have kids together. What has he done for you? He taught you to play video games. He ended our marriage, so your future is with him now. No one has laughed at you, she said. I love you, Perry. Don't do this to us. I didn't do this, I said coldly. You did. You've never seen the real me. I'm done talking. Speak through my lawyer. Perry, we need to talk calmly, she said. I turned away and childishly stuck my fingers in my ears, singing loudly. She got redder. Perry, don't make me do this, she said, pulling out her phone and speaking to someone. Then she looked at me with an evil expression and left. The detective quickly returned to the room. Mr. Tyler, we're going to have to hold you, the detective said. The men you assaulted have decided to press charges. Call me when you're ready to listen to reason, Denise said. This could have been easy, but you made me bring out the witch. I was moved to a cell. An hour later, Denise rushed in. Perry, where are the kids? She asked. I refused to answer. Perry, you're taking this too far. It's not what it seems. I need your back door key. The front door is jammed, she said. Denise, the house is in my name. I don't want you in it. If you go in, I'll charge you with burglary or trespassing, I said. Perry, you don't want to have lovemaking with me. There's still time to apologize and work this out. We can go back to the way things were and be happy. I'll even let you have what you wanted if it means that much, she offered. Screw you, I spat. I don't want it anymore. I want to be free of you and start over with someone who loves me enough to be faithful. Her eyes narrowed. Perry, I love you. Don't make me do this. A lawyer told me I could get your house, most of your salary, your retirement, plus child support. You'd be living in a shelter. I'll plead guilty and take jail time, I smirked. You're angry and hurt, she said. You'll regret turning down this chance. No, I won't, I said. It doesn't mean anything anymore. Why not? Did someone else let you? She sneered. It was never about anyone else, I said. I've loved you since college. I didn't mind your past because I thought we'd be together forever. Her eyes filled with tears. Perry, I never knew you felt that way. I thought you just couldn't find anyone else. It doesn't matter anymore. Let's just get the divorce, I said. Perry, please don't do this. Neither of us will be happy, she said. Screw you, Denise. I love tuna, I snapped. She walked out, and the guard told me Denise was bailing me out. I asked if I had to accept it. You could refuse, but that would be stupid, he said. I don't want anything from her, I said. Denise returned. Why do you want to stay here? We need to talk. I can talk here, I said, waving for the guard. This woman is molestating me. I want her barred from visitation. The guard escorted her out as she screamed, I'd regret it. The next morning, my favorite guard told me someone wanted to see me. I don't want to see my wife, I snapped. It's not her, he said. Do you want to go to her or should I send her back? Send her back, I said. I heard whistles and catcalls as she approached. Mary Claire walked through like a princess. You really did a number on my brother, she said. Denise is livid. What did Stuart do? I told her what happened, and her eyes widened. I'm so sorry, she said. I can't believe my brother would do that. His college career is over. Why? I asked. The dean hates Stuart, she said. He's been on probation. This incident means he's out for good. He'll be stuck in my parents' basement. Can you imagine being that old and still living there? He has Lord of the Rings posters and plays Dungeons and Dragons with other losers. I laughed at the thought. Well, I came to bail you out, Mary Claire said. Why? I asked. Because that's what friends do, she said shyly. MC, you don't have that kind of money, I said. It's my tuition money, she replied. MC, I can't take your money. I'll have the guards give you my bank card, I said. Thanks, though. It means a lot. She smiled and nodded. So you could have bailed yourself out any time? She asked. I nodded. Then why didn't you? 3 reasons, I said. Denise wanted me out. Me being in here makes her feel guilty and keeps her from talking to me. Secondly, I have to be somewhere, and here I get free food. Lastly, until you came, I had no reason to leave. She smiled and arranged my release. The guard asked, This is the same account the other lady tried to bail you out from last night. What's the difference? I like this lady, I said cheerfully. MC drove me to get the rental car, and we had breakfast. I explained everything in detail. While I was in jail, Denise spoke to Stuart and got a cutthroat lawyer to either force me back or destroy me. MC hugged me, offering her help. I told her just being there was enough. I went to my house to get some things from the garage. As I arrived, Denise and her lawyer got out of a car. "Why did you let another woman bail you out, but not me?" she hissed. I introduced myself to her lawyer, who was very polite. "I don't have access to the house now," I told him. "You'll need court permission for Denise to get her things. I'll arrange that soon." "Thank you," he said. "That's reasonable. I didn't expect—" "Stop ignoring me and answer my questions," screamed Denise. Neighbors were watching. I continued, "You expected yelling and screaming. I'm not like that." Denise wasn't either until this started. "You'll serve papers soon. Here's my cell number for arrangements." "Aren't you living in the house?" he asked. "I sold it," I said. "I'm the sole owner. If we can't live here as a family, there's no use in keeping it." His eyes widened and Denise started crying. "Could you answer her questions before she melts down?" he asked. "Denise MC bailed me out with my checking account. There's no other woman." "You were the only one for 10 years until you ruined it." She looked up, teary-eyed. "But we could still have everything we wanted," she said. "I let my competitiveness control me." "No, Denise," I said, "we can't go back. I can't forget what I saw or trust you again." "Are you sure?" she asked softly. "Maybe with time you'll change your mind." "I don't think so," I said. "Can we at least talk about it? Sit down and work out our differences like reasonable people?" she asked. "I'd like that," I said. "Let's meet in the park at 1 o'clock. "Why the park?" she asked. "In case things get loud," I said. "Plus, it's a public place where we can both walk away if needed." "Okay, I'll see you soon," she said. I got into my rental car and called my boss to update him. "Don't be fooled," he warned. "Her lawyer has been asking about your income and retirement plan. Stick with the plan. Head for Vegas today. If she files, our moves could be more questionable." I met with my lawyer and gave him Denise's lawyer's info. He laughed and said, "You know I have to report everything you told me, right?" "I don't care," I said. "All that matters is my kids are fine. I like tuna." "Good thing I have short-term memory loss," he said. "I can't remember anything you just told me." I headed to the park and saw Denise on the bench in the bandstand. I sat down on the opposite side. "It feels like a lifetime ago when you used to come into the kitchen and touch me while I cooked," she said. "Now it's like I have a disease." "Perry, this all went wrong. I think there's something wrong with me. I'm not acting like myself. I'm so sorry for what I did. I blamed you at first, thinking if you hadn't brought that game home, this wouldn't have happened. But I see now that I was trying to get back what we had. I loved you more than anything, Perry. I couldn't just do nothing." "I see that now," she continued. "But what you don't see is everything else. You're an attractive man, and I'm lucky to have you. Remember 10 years ago? I was the hot one. Everywhere we went, people wondered why I was with you. Guys would hit on me when you weren't looking. But I never took the bait. I wanted forever, not just a quick fling. I didn't want to end up like those older women who had nothing but a one-bedroom apartment and a cat. I saw happier women with homes, families, and husbands who loved them. I realized the difference was love. None of the guys we used to hang out with cared about me like you did. That's why I went after you. And I'm so glad I did. The problem is, the balance of power has changed. You've become more attractive, and I've become a mom with sagging who still sees herself as that hot girl. Lately, no one notices me, but many women mention how hot you are. I think I really started to notice it 3 months ago at MC's celebration. It hit me how little you needed me. You never did anything wrong, Perry. It was me. You're still the same considerate, funny guy. But I needed something, so I started ordering you around and drifting away. I needed to believe I didn't need you, while you worked hard to take care of us and keep me close. The video game idea was great, but I ruined it. You showed me how much you still wanted me by what you wanted to win. I saw it as you trying to have power over me. When you explained why you wanted it, I realized how foolish I was. I had no clue you loved me that much. The thing with Stuart hurt you, and I didn't mean for it to. I just wanted to beat you at the game. When Stuart and I were alone playing games, things went too far. We talked about the bet, and he wanted to share the winnings. When I won the first time, you made me feel so special. But when you didn't want to have lovemaking afterward, I thought you were saving energy for your run. The next day, I had to give Stuart a head for his help. Determined to win again, Stuart said it would be harder, but he knew a way. He wanted actual physical engaging, but I refused. Eventually, I realized I couldn't win without cheating, so I gave in. Stuart had a cheat code that gave me unlimited health. I watched you solve puzzles and then use my code to bypass one. I won by just shooting everyone in sight while you had to strategize. When you caught us on Monday, I was in shock. It felt unreal, like part of the game. None of it is worth what I put you through. We need to figure out how to move past this and what I can do to make it up to you. Denise, that's just it, I began. All I ever wanted was us. That's gone. You loved me when I was a nerd with giant glasses. I loved you until I saw you with Stuart. Physical things don't matter. I fell in love with a woman who smiled at me and loved me when others laughed. You gave that up with Stuart. We need to focus on what's best for the kids and figure out custody. Perry, this isn't what I wanted to hear, she said. I came here to find out how we get back together. Now you start thinking again. Come up with something to fix this. She started to get upset again, her voice rising. I'm sorry, Denise, but this is too much for me. Acting like a witch and screaming won't fix this. We'll never get the trust back. The best we can do is co-parent and maybe be friends someday when the sting has faded. Co-parents? She screamed, standing up and glaring. Friends! I don't want to be your friend. I'll give you 2 days to get your head straight or we're going to war. If you force my hand, I'll take everything. Your money, savings, house, and even your car. She was screaming so loudly that everyone around us stared. 2 days, Perry, and you'll either be with me in our bed or screwed over in the divorce. You'll end up in a shelter, eating tuna from a can, working yourself to end of life for me. And I'll probably be screwing Stuart or someone else just to spite you. When you retire, I'll take most of your retirement package so you'll have nothing. Do I make myself clear? And if I hear about you with another woman, I'll destroy you. She knocked over the bench and stormed off. That afternoon, I went to Las Vegas. I stayed in a nice hotel, gambled a bit, and the next morning there was a knock on my door. A man handed me a file showing I had lost nearly $200,000. Where'd I get that kind of money? I asked. He smiled. You sold your house and cashed in your retirement. Then you lost it gambling. Your boss, Justin, is my cousin. He lost nearly $1 million to his ex-wife and arranged all of this. One of our cousins is staying in your house for the summer. You need to wrap this up before school starts for the kids. I nodded, happy, and decided to stay another day in Vegas. I saw a show, ate rich food, and smiled at a few women, practicing for future dating. The confrontation came sooner than expected. The morning I returned, I thanked Justin and gave him a progress report. My dad was bringing the boys back that afternoon. Denise had never asked about the kids, which surprised me. As I parked at the company lot dreaming of my Mustang, Denise's lawyer and another man appeared, with Denise behind them. So, are we going home? She brayed. I just smiled and shook my head. Her eyes darkened, and her face reddened like a boiler about to explode. The guy with Denise and her lawyer handed me a folder. You've been served, he said. Denise's lawyer looked apologetic. I realize this isn't the best way to do this, he said. Your wife insisted. This feels like an ambush. Maybe you could bring your lawyer to my office and we could discuss a settlement or property division calmly. I warned you, Perry, Denise said acidly. Whenever you're ready to listen to reason, I can make this go away. Your court date for the assault charges is coming up. I can make that disappear too. She looked at me smugly. One way or another, I'm moving back into my house soon. That afternoon, I met with Denise, her lawyer, and our respective teams. Denise had brought Stuart and his friend. I brought another friend of Justin's. Stuart got very nervous when he saw him. Are you ready to give in? Denise asked. Let's get started, I said. Well, her lawyer began, we're petitioning for divorce on the grounds of mental cruelty. I laughed and everyone looked at me. What's so funny? Denise's lawyer asked. Let's go back 15 seconds, I said. Your client was begging me to stay married. Does that sound like I've been cruel? He looked at Denise, who was fuming. Denise, I thought you were filing under irreconcilable differences. I was willing to agree to that, sparing embarrassment and Stuart's reputation. But if you're fighting fire with nonsense, I'll introduce some truth. I'm changing my countersuit to infidelity. Denise's lawyer looked shocked. You didn't know this, did you? I asked him. Your client didn't tell you why I'm divorcing her, did she? This is a no-fault state. You don't have proof, do you? He sputtered. I held up my iPhone and played the video from the nanny cams. His eyes widened, and he looked at Denise. I need to confer with my client, he said. He and Denise stepped outside, and we heard yelling. Stuart looked very nervous. When they returned, her lawyer said, We'd be willing to go for irreconcilable differences. I'm not sure I am anymore, I said. After all the pain she caused me, maybe everyone should know what kind of woman she is. But let's table that for now. Continue with your petition. My client wants the house, primary custody of the children, child support, spousal support, her car, 60% of the savings and checking accounts, investments, and half of your retirement package. She also suggests couples counseling to resolve your differences. I laughed again. The lawyer looked at me. "What is it this time?" he asked. "Once you've found the woman you love screwing another guy, it changes you. You go a bit crazy. I wanted closure, to get away and start over, so no." "No what?" Denise demanded. "What did you do?" "I sold my house," I said. "I did it before you filed for divorce. I also emptied the savings account. I thought I could triple it in Vegas and pay you off. But I lost it all." "How much did you lose?" her lawyer asked. "All of it," I said. "I even owe the casino several $1,000s. "And the retirement plan?" the lawyer asked. Surely my client is entitled to something. I wasn't fully vested. I quit in a rage, so it's worth little. I had to sell my car to start paying off the casino. All we have is Denise's car, which we still owe money on. Without a job or place to stay, I don't know how we'll keep up with her payments. The kids, who Denise hasn't asked about, are with my parents. "You idiot!" screamed Denise. "What I did was stupid, but this is worse." "So, will you attend counseling and try to save the marriage?" asked her lawyer. "No," I said. Denise folded her arms. "What am I going to do? You're going to fight me for custody?" "Why can't we just get back together? We both screwed up," she said. "No, Denise, you screwed up," I said. "I just reacted." She started crying and calling me names. "I can't get a job if I'm in jail," I said. "If you agree to try to save our marriage, I'll call Stu off," she said. "Don't worry about it," I said. "Stuart is in more trouble than I am. The gentleman I brought is the dean of Stuart's college. If Stuart doesn't drop the charges, he's expelled." "But she told me to," said Stuart. "I wanted to drop the charges, but she said if I did, she'd claim I attacked her." For the next 2 days, we negotiated. Stu dropped the charges. Denise and I agreed to divorce on the grounds of irreconcilable differences, get jobs, and have joint custody of the kids. We got separate apartments with the remaining money in our checking account and closed it. We split the boys' expenses evenly. Denise got a waitressing job, which was tough after 10 years of not working and gaining nearly 100 pounds. I pretended to care when she complained about work for about 2 months. Everything was going well. One morning, I called to tell her that the woman who bought our house was selling it, and I planned to get a mortgage and buy it back. Denise started crying, which surprised me. "I'm sorry, Denise," I said. "This will be good for the boys. They'll have their old rooms back, and you can visit them often. They can still live with you every other week, but they'll benefit from a house with a yard, pets, and a pool." "It's not that," she said. "I found out yesterday that I'm pregnant." I was shocked. "We'll manage 3 kids just like 2. If we were still together, it would be great news." "You don't understand," she said. "The timing is all wrong. I wish this was your baby, but it isn't. My life is ruined." "Have you told Stuart yet?" I asked. "I'm going to today," she said. "But Perry, he doesn't have to know. No one does. Couldn't we?" "No, Denise," I said. "There's been too much lying already. Look where it got us." "But I don't want to be with him, Perry," she said. "I want to be with you." "Denise, that's not possible right now," I said. "Who knows what may happen in the future? A year ago, I never saw us living apart or you carrying someone else's baby. But that's where we are now, all because of that video game system." "Video games ruined my life," she said. "No, honey," I said sadly. "It wasn't the games. You not keeping your legs closed ruined both our lives." Over the next few months, things got both better and worse. My summer boarders returned to their home state, and I regained my house. Denise told Stuart about the baby. He denied it was his and got a lawyer. I offered to help Denise through her pregnancy until a DNA test could confirm the child's paternity. As Denise's pregnancy progressed, she struggled to care for the boys, so they moved in with me full-time. Denise still visited them often. I convinced MC, who was always around, to move in and care for the boys full-time. She arranged her fall school schedule to match theirs. Denise lost her job due to her pregnancy, and Stuart begrudgingly let her move into the basement with him, pushed by his parents who were excited about their first grandchild. Stuart and Denise fought constantly. On the other hand, MC started acting more like a wife to me. She did more than care for the boys. She also took care of me. She cooked, cleaned, and spent time with me. It was MC who finally moved the game system into storage. One day, I came home to find it gone. The living room was rearranged with the sofa and love seat in front of the flat-screen TV, creating a cozier space for watching movies together. "Put the steaks on the grill," MC said as I stood there looking at the empty space. "Everyone is waiting for you. The kids can't go swimming until we're outside to watch them. I got a bootleg DVD of The Avengers for after dinner." Where's the—" I began. She crossed the floor and silenced me with a finger on my lips. "Every time you looked at that thing, it made you sad," she said. "It's been months now. It's time to move on." MC was wearing a swimsuit with one of my shirts over it, and I caught a hint of perfume. For the first time in months, I let go of some of my anger over what Denise had done. That evening was perfect, a family night, something I hadn't experienced in a long time. Ever since Denise started distancing herself from me and the boys, I had been trying to win her back. The boys settled on the couch with their popcorn, leaving the love seat for MC and me. We squeezed in together, and the contact felt heavenly. She put her arm around my waist, rested her head on my shoulder, and sighed. Like most men, I hated the idea of snuggling on a couch with a young, beautiful woman interested in me. I continued to pine over my unfaithful wife. For those who missed it, that was sarcasm. Seriously, though, we didn't kiss that night, but sitting there with our arms around each other felt so good that I didn't see much of the movie. As late summer turned to fall, MC and the kids went back to school. We didn't see much of Denise unless we visited her and her new family. This pregnancy was harder on Denise, and she often blamed it on my absence. "That idiot Stuart is useless," she complained. "He's going to be the worst father ever. I'm a 36-year-old pregnant woman. Why am I sleeping in a basement? I have nothing." Denise was becoming more bitter over time. The kind and caring woman I loved was gone. MC and Stuart's parents often said she was only this way because she was pregnant. I wasn't so sure. I think that during our time together, I was always trying to please Denise, so she never had anything to complain about. My refusal to take her back really brought out her bitterness. Denise and Stuart constantly argued about everything. They hated each other and blamed each other for their troubles. Denise hated Stuart because she felt he had ruined her marriage and lifestyle. Stuart felt Denise had cost him his social life and Dungeons and Dragons parties. His parents had grown tired of supporting him. Over the years, his father began telling Stuart to be nicer to Denise because, without the baby, they would have kicked him out. Stuart's parents also treated my kids like their grandkids. It wasn't unusual for me to visit with MC and the kids and have them run to Stuart's parents for hugs and treats. They started giving knowing glances at MC and me, making MC blush. One day, while we were all sitting on the back porch discussing a topic that bothered MC's dad, we received tragic news. MC's dad had called us over because he was fed up. He made small talk while the kids played on the grass with his wife. "So, Mary Claire, does he know you can't?" he asked casually. "Yes, Dad," she said quietly. "Perry knows I can't have kids. He doesn't mind." "So, when are you two getting hitched?" He smiled. MC, as usual, turned bright red. "Dad, we're not—" Before she could finish, he pointed down at us. "So why are you always holding hands and stuff?" He smiled again. "I just don't want him to get lost," she said. "This porch is pretty big." "Yeah, sure," he said. "Surprisingly, no one has ever gotten lost on this porch. Maybe I should put up a map so no one gets lost." We all laughed, but MC and I didn't let go of each other's hands. "The reason I asked you to come over is that I'm fed up. MC, you're 25 years old, have your associate's degree, working towards your bachelor's, have a job, and an apartment you don't live in anymore. You have a family and a man who loves you. Don't deny it, Perry. I've seen the way you look at each other. I'm proud of you, Mary Claire," he said, gently touching her cheek. "But I want to be proud of your brother, too," he snapped. "He's 32, acts like a teenager, and has been in college for 14 years. I'm tired of supporting him. I'm cutting him off, and I need your help. MC, can I sublet your apartment for your brother and Denise? I don't want my grandbaby in that basement. And Perry, you're like my son-in-law, so that makes Stu your brother-in-law. Could you get him a job at your work, even sweeping floors? He has to be able to do something." Then a very pregnant Denise waddled out of the house, holding a piece of paper and screaming, "That's sleazebag!" she cried, cursing. MC immediately went to cover the boys' ears from their mother's tirade, reminding her that the kids didn't need to hear that language. Denise broke down and dropped the paper. MC's parents tried to comfort her. I picked up the note and, after glancing at it, was shocked. I asked MC to take the boys inside and get them something to drink. She offered them soda, and their eyes lit up. I read the note aloud after they left. Denise, I can't take this anymore. I wish I'd never met you. You're a first-class witch and have ruined my life. I don't understand why Perry was upset about losing you. Now I see I did him a favor. He hasn't wasted time replacing you with my sister. She's always had a crush on him. Remember her party? She was drunk but telling the truth. Mary Claire now has the perfect life and man she dreamed of. They used to be yours. But while she's happy, I'm stuck with the harpy from hell. My parents moved you into the basement without asking me. They've tried to mold us into a couple, which I can't understand. This isn't what I wanted. I don't want a child or a wife, especially not you. You're fat, unattractive, and a witch. Even if I loved you, which I don't, I could never trust you. Perry is a good-looking guy, a daddy type with a great job, and he loved you. You cheated on him. How could I expect you not to do the same to me? I don't think the baby is mine. Maybe aliens planted my DNA in you as an experiment. I don't intend to work myself into an early grave like Perry or my dad. I'm too smart for that. So, with a not-so-heavy heart, I'm getting out of here and heading for greener pastures. Don't look for me. I won't be where you search. Tell my dad he can be happy now. I'm finally out of his basement. Sincerely, Stuart. As I finished, Denise started bawling. MC's parents tried to console her, saying everything would be all right, but she wasn't buying it. Life bites you when you do bad things. But in this case, things ended up right after all the lying and scheming. A few bad things happened, but we moved on. So, I said to the couple, do you want to buy that gaming system or not? The woman reconsidered, while the man began to nod. Just then, their eyes were drawn to a woman coming out of the house with two small boys trailing behind her. Mommy, I want to go in the pool, said my son Johnny. She picked him up and kissed his nose. You have to wait a while, Johnny. You just had lunch, she said. That child called her mommy. So you and your wife got back together? Asked the woman. She doesn't look fat to me. Did she go on a radical diet? Before I could say anything, a beat-up and sputtering 1980s Yugo with rust and body damage pulled into the yard. The windshield was cracked, and all the wheels had excessive camber as if the car was overloaded. An unattractive, heavy-set woman got out, leaving it running. A much larger, heavier man with no chin and huge glasses exited the passenger side and started eyeing my yard sale items. Both of their gazes landed on the gaming system at the same time. I married him, I said to the couple. See? I was referring to the woman who just got out of that car. That is Denise. I wonder what she's upset about now. As we watched, Denise ran around the yard until she found a baseball bat. She pulled out some crumpled bills from her purse and handed them to MC. Here's $50, she said loudly. It's mine, right? MC smiled and nodded. No, Stuart screamed hysterically. Screw you, Stuart. I bought this piece of junk, so it's mine now. As we watched, she raised the bat and smashed the gaming system repeatedly until pieces of plastic and circuit boards littered the yard. Denise laughed maniacally as she destroyed the gaming system. Ruin my life, will you? She screamed as she struck it again. I guess you guys will have to buy something else, I smiled. I think the game system has been sold. Wait, said the woman. I see now that you married MC. But how did Denise and Stuart end up back together? We sat back down at the table, and I told them the rest of the story. Over the next few months, unexpected things happened. Denise had her baby, a little girl who, unfortunately, looks just like Stuart. DNA confirmed the paternity. They still live in the basement with their daughter, but they're not alone. About a month after the baby was born, Stuart called his parents, pleading for help. He had run out of money less than 100 miles from home and got caught stealing food. He got into more trouble when he tried to run from the sheriff and accidentally knocked down a deputy, which is a felony. MC's parents had to pay a lot of money to get him released. Now, Stuart, Denise, and their daughter Betty are all unhappily living in the basement. Denise rarely visits our kids anymore because they're afraid of her. They started calling MC Mommy soon after we got married. Stuart's jail time made things worse, as a felony conviction makes it harder for him to find a job. Denise watches him like a hawk. His parents insisted they get married to give his daughter his name. They still argue constantly, but things are looking up. Denise got another waitressing job, which only pays minimum wage, but most waitresses make good money in tips. Denise is so unpleasant, though, that she rarely brings home any tips. She recently bought Stuart a push lawnmower, and he goes around the neighborhood cutting grass. He competes with local kids for jobs, but he studied marketing in college and plans to expand into shoveling snow in winter and raking leaves in fall. MC came over and brought me another Pepsi. She leaned down, kissed me, and went back to the boys. So things turned out great for you? Asked the man. I nodded. Buying that game system was the smartest thing I ever did, I said. Right then, Denise's car stopped sputtering and died. She stopped smashing the game system and tried to start the car. It refused to start. She just started pounding on it and crying.